As you board, please move across your car to make room for everyone, and kindly offer available seating to those needing special assistance. If you're standing, please hold on to the handrails and stay clear of the doors. They will be closing in a moment. Thank you.
Hey, howdy, hey, and welcome to Disney Assembled, your father-daughter podcast, where we share our love for all things Disney. I'm Troy.
And I'm Mimi.
And we're so glad that you're joining us today. And if this is your first time joining us on our podcast, welcome. All are welcome. We hope that you enjoy yourself. If you are a returning listener, again, thank you very much for coming back for more. We hope you've enjoyed the episodes that we've put out so far. And especially the last one we did, which was a emergency surprise midweek episode to talk about the proposal Disney World had come out with to reopen the parks in July. So we hope everybody enjoyed that. But at the end of the episode today, we will share some information with our listeners for how you can find us online and connect with us and help us spread the word about our podcast. We think we're doing a pretty good job, and the feedback has been great so far. And at the end of today's episode, we'll give you some information on how you can help us spread the word. But Mimi, you had a fantastic idea, I thought, a fantastic idea for a conversation we should have. So why don't you share with our listeners what your idea was?
Yeah, we were sitting around thinking about maybe doing another overrated, underrated movie. And then I was like, I want to talk specifically about the underrated movies or movies or franchises that we didn't think got enough representation, which led to the idea of today's episode, where we are taking 4 or 5 of some of our favorite franchises in the Disney universe that we think are underrepresented in the parks, that could maybe use a ride or a dinner show or a parade or something like that. Like we took these franchises and we designed a attraction based around them and what makes them special. So that's what we did. That's
Absolutely.
What we're gonna do today.
Right. Look, first of all, there's not enough love in the world. We should bring more love into the world. And we think in our conversation, we came up with a list of Disney properties, Disney intellectual properties, titles, whatever you want to call it, that we think could use a little more love in the parks.
Definitely.
Right. And we would love our guests to give us their opinion at the end of the show. So let's jump right into the list of things that we felt that Disney could give a little more love to in their parks in terms of an attraction. And like you just got finished saying, and thank you for saying it, an attraction doesn't necessarily have to be a ride, but and it could be something other than a ride. However, we also believe that there already may be parts of, ways that Disney recognizes these properties in the park. We just think maybe they could do a little bit more. Like maybe they're deserving of a little bit more love than they're getting now.
Definitely.
So Mimi, do you want to start off with the first one we came up with?
Definitely. So the first one that I've talked about, I think I've actually talked about this specific topic before in a previous episode. Tangled. The Tangled franchise has like a bathroom area in Disney World, not even in Disneyland. And I think that they could definitely do better than that. Tangled was such a good movie, and I think they deserve so much more than what they get. And so when we were having our conversation, I was thinking, okay, well, there's 3 ways you could do this, really. You could do a boat ride based on See the Light, or you could do a dark ride, which I think would also be really, really fun. Or you could do a restaurant called the Snuggly Duckling, which is the restaurant in the Tangled movie, where Mother Gothel, finds the twins, and then they start this huge plan. Anyway, also I Have a Dream was played in there. And then, so when I pitched this idea of a restaurant to Papa, he said, okay, well then you have to do a dinner show. And I was like, yeah, you got to do a dinner show because like having the restaurant is good enough, but Tangled had such good music that you can really just take it even further with that dinner show and maybe have them perform I Have a Dream in the restaurant while you're eating.
Absolutely. No, I think it's a great idea. I think Tangled, I think they do have meet and greets. You can meet Rapunzel and Flynn.
And Mother Gothel.
And do that. But I agree with you. I think, the more I think about it, I think a dinner show called I Have a Dream, the I Have a Dream dinner show would be a really, really cool thing to have. And you can have it at a version of the Snuggly Duckling and maybe even have a section on the side for adults where adult beverages are served possibly and a family side. But I agree with you. I think Tangled, we've talked about Tangled before, how much we love that film and how much we enjoy watching it. But I do think, I think the restroom area is nice, but I do think a nice dinner show would be really, really cool to have.
Yeah. And I know Tangled is represented in the Around the World Epcot exhibit in Normandy, I think. But I would like to see them make Tangled a more concrete part of the park as opposed to just this one, like, okay.
I think you're getting it confused with Frozen. And it's Norway.
No. Duh.
Right.
No, I'm getting them confused with Tangled, but with Frozen. But I think Tangled is in that like exhibit though.
It might be. I don't know. I can't remember. All I do know is I do believe Tangled
deserves
would appreciate a little bit more love.
Definitely.
And a Snuggly Duckling themed I Have a Dream dinner show would be fantastic. I would love to see those characters, those sort of brute characters coming out and playing piano and dancing around and inviting people to participate would be a lot of fun.
Excuse me for getting that wrong. I haven't been to Disney World in so long.
Feels like it's been a long time.
I think I was like 6.
Yeah. No. It's been earlier than that. But so let's go to our second one. You ready to go to our second one? The second one we came up with was Mary Poppins. Now, this may be a strange one for people because Mary Poppins is such a beloved movie. It was one of the best Disney movies ever. And certainly, if you've seen Saving Mr. Banks, you see a lot of history between Walt and how Mary Poppins came to be. And we do know that in Disneyland, in the carousel,
there's
a special horse. There is Julie Andrews is the horse for her. But Mary Poppins, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like Mary. I know you can meet Mary Poppins. I know you can do a picture and your character meet, but there's no Mary Poppins like. I wish there was something more.
Right, there's no like exhibit where you can go and like
more of an attraction.
Talk about it. Yeah.
And so what I was thinking for Mary Poppins, possibly a dinner show because there's great music in Mary Poppins, and maybe having animated dancing penguins show up all around the room.
Yeah, like
and
how
so
they
forth.
did Lumiere in Belle's Castle, something like that.
Something like that. But I also think Mary Poppins might, even though it's live action and it has some animated elements, some kind of a dark ride that mixes both live action actors and animated pieces that make you feel like you're going into the world of Mary Poppins, where, as you're moving through the scenery, some are scenes acted out by actual real actors, not animatronic actors, but real actors. And then there are parts that become more 3D version animated pieces that I think would be really, really cool, whether it's the simulated horse race on the carousel horses or the aforementioned penguin dance. I think Mary Poppins could use more love in the parks.
I think for Mary Poppins, there are so many different ways you can do it, but and if you were to do a dark ride, I would want it to have more of a Rise of the Resistance kind of feel, where it's not just a dark ride where you go in the track and you get out, but you have this simulation and the flying, and it's adventurous and exciting. Like, it's not just your typical on a track dark ride. So like that's what I would want to see if it was a ride for Mary Poppins. But I also would like to see them focus on history, because there was a lot of history going into Mary Poppins, and Walt honored that in a way that I don't know today's generations like honor the history and the rich integrity of Mary Poppins. Right. And I would want to make sure that is represented in the parks.
Yeah, and I think Mary Poppins, again, it's another franchise, it's another intellectual property, it's another piece of Disney history that, again, maybe a little bit more love is deserving of it.
But I think if you were to do like something else for Mary Poppins, it would be a show.
Yeah, I think a show would be fine.
A show would be a really good one.
Yeah, a show would be good. And, even if it was a street show where the chimney sweeps come out and they do a big song and dance out of nowhere, maybe at the top of the buildings on Main Street or in certain areas, maybe even in the England Pavilion. Something like that would be really cool, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's move on to our third one. And that would be
Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph. So I know we both had similar but different ideas about how Wreck-It Ralph might get some more love in Disney parks. Why don't you start?
So I was thinking like an arcade area for Wreck-It Ralph that's themed to the movie but it would have all of your classic arcade games that we have today, like Pac-Man and like arcade games. They're everywhere. But it would want to have it be themed to him, and I think just have a representation of that movie in the park, because like we've talked about our opinions on Wreck-It Ralph before, where we thought it was good. We were kind of like it exceeded our expectations, but it's not our favorite, right? We've talked about that. And so I think for a lot of people, it's not necessarily their favorite movie, but it was still a good movie and it's credible. And so I think having like maybe an area that mentions them or honors them would be really cool, without having to make like a big ride attraction or restaurant or show about them when they're not really at the top of that food chain for people's like wants and needs.
No, I think an arcade with a Wreck-It Ralph theme would be really cool. But I also think what would be really cool is I have two sort of different ideas, but similar ideas. Mm-hmm. One, part of me thinks that Wreck-It Ralph might be a really cool sort of lower level coaster ride where you're zipping through different areas that, feel like the different video games. And it's sort of a roller coaster version of a dark ride where you're kind of zipping around and but you're also experiencing Wreck-It Ralph's story and Vanellope's story. Maybe part of it is you're getting in her car and you're racing, and then the other part you're battling those bots, those
King Candy,
right, and all that stuff. Another thing though might just be more of an interactive dark ride, similar to the Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters ride, where you're going through, and again you're going through a story, but where you go in the story and where your ride takes you could be determined by how you interact with maybe a video game interface, so that each ride is a little different, right? So there's no predetermined, it's all predetermined, but if you do X, you go in one direction. If you do Y, you go in a different direction, and the story slightly changes. It always leads you to the same outcome at the end.
Yeah.
But maybe a choose your own adventure sort of interactive dark ride for Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
I think could have real potential and be a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
So the fourth item, Disney property that we thought would need a little bit more love in the park is Moana.
Yeah, like we know she has a float in the parades, in most of them, I think. And you can meet Moana. You can't meet Maui, but you can meet Moana. And, that's all great. But I think we both kind of unanimously agreed that it would be a really cool boat ride to see Moana, like, have a boat ride. Not necessarily, like, as calm and gentle as Small World, but maybe something a little bit more vigorous and storytelling like Pirates.
I think that's a great idea. And I think if the Imagineers could come up with a way to sort of combine, the dark boat ride attraction with more of a thrill ride part to it, not just by dropping. I mean, you have the drops in Pirates, you have the drops on Splash Mountain, but I'm talking about more of a kind of like a Matterhorn bobsled type feel to a boat ride where the boat, it's controlled, but maybe you don't see it being controlled because you're in water and the water's flying by you really fast and it's taking you through the ocean and trying to find, where Moana's trying to get to. And I think that would be really cool, sort of combining, again, a combination of a boat ride / dark ride with elements of it that are more thrill-based, it makes it feel more like a Thunder Mountain Railroad. So if you take Thunder Mountain and you make it into a boat ride, that would be what I think would be, and you theme it to Moana, sort of a tropical paradise feel.
I feel
think
like
that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if they were to like refurb Pirates, I think that's what I would want them to see them do, because like Pirates is such an adventurous movie. And so like rebranding that to be the same as that Moana ride we just made.
Right. And the challenge for Imagineers would be to make you feel like you're floating, but you're not really floating, because for it to be a thrill ride like that, you have to be on some kind of a track that's being controlled.
Yeah.
For safety reasons, obviously. So maybe something like that is possible. I think that would be really cool. All right. So we have one more, Mimi. Why don't you share with our group what that is?
We're going to talk about Robin Hood and what we would like to see Robin Hood, like his presence in the park. So I don't even know if you can meet the Robin Hood characters.
I think you can, but they're not out. They don't seem to be out as often as they used to be years and years and years ago.
That movie has been around a long time.
Yes.
A long time. And it's a classic, but it's not Mary Poppins. And so like it's kind of losing its spark and relativity in the Disney universe. And so I think if they were to come back with our proposed attraction, hopefully it'll start back up again.
Right. And interest in Robin Hood maybe picked up a little, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about how Robin Hood can get some more love in the parks?
Maybe do like a Tarzan's Treehouse kind of thing. But it's like a forest and you go around, you steal from the rich and you give to the poor, or like, it's for kids, obviously. And like each kid is assigned, a character. And so if you're poor, you get money. If you're rich, you get money stolen from you. And then at the end, once you get through this whole like track of adventure and, charisma, you're dubbed one of Robin Hood's men.
Right.
And now you are officially able to take from the rich and give to the poor.
Sure. I think theming some kind of a children's interactive adventure area to the Sherwood Forest with the Robin Hood theming to it would be really cool. So, the children can go into it and it's like a playground. It's got pieces to it, but it's interactive challenges where you have to, you do certain things along the way. And maybe even using the Play Disney app while you're there, you can track your progress. And if you complete all of the challenges, and you can ask for help, right? So the characters will be there either virtually on screens or maybe otherwise.
Or like a cast member or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And cast members are themed there to help you through. And if you complete all of the tasks and you collect all of the, special milestones, kind of like being in a video game, but you're actually doing it yourself. Yeah. And when you get finished, if you collect all of them, then you get officially inducted into, Robin's band of merry men, and maybe get a special Disney pin for that or some kind of a certificate.
Yeah. Cause like I know when I was younger at Test Track, they would give out like little driver's license once you've like finished Test Track, and like maybe do like some kind of certificate thing. Absolutely.
I think that'd be really fun. Cause look, I was born in the early 70s. And I remember Robin Hood being one of my favorite animated cartoons growing up. I really enjoyed Robin Hood, and it would be great to see Robin Hood get a little bit more love in the parks.
Definitely.
So there we go. Those are 5 Disney intellectual properties that, even though they do have some presence in the parks, Mimi and I felt could use a little more love, right? It'd be nice to see a little bit different presence of them in the parks. And because we think they deserve it. I think all 5 of the things we mentioned are things that we really enjoy as part of being in the Disney universe.
Especially in California, because like I know that there's a lot more representation of movies that I love, but they're in Florida. And we spend most of our time in California. And so it's like I would like to see that transferred over to California.
And I think some of these may be more fitting for California. Some of them may be more fitting for Florida. So for example, if you're going to build a Sherwood Forest area, there's just not a lot of room in California to do that. So that might fit better as part of maybe Animal Kingdom or something in Florida, whereas Mary Poppins might fit in much better in California, since there's a connection between Disneyland and actually getting Mary Poppins made.
Yeah.
There was a connection between the two. So there we have it.
Yeah.
Right. So why don't we tell our friends now, as we're getting close to the end of our episode today, why don't we share with our friends who are listening how they can find us online?
They can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Disney Assembled, or they can send us an email, disneyassembled@gmail.com. You can also give an opinion on an episode or give us ideas for an episode with that same email address.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love your feedback, and especially about this episode. If you have feedback about this one or one of our previous episodes, we'd love to hear it. If you have an idea for a future episode, we would love to hear it. Mimi and I sit around and discuss ideas all the time. Some of them are good.
Some of them are.
Some of them
not
so good. You know what we forgot to do?
What?
We did this last time. I'm going to do it here at the end since we don't have a sponsor yet. This episode isn't sponsored by anyone, but we didn't do our Disney dad joke of the episode. And a couple episodes ago, we did a Disney dad joke, and I forgot to do one last time. So I think I'm going to do one this time. Okay. So here's the Disney dad joke of the episode. Okay. Why didn't Poe Dameron have any snacks in his spaceship?
Why?
Because BB ate them.
Oh.
Get it?
Yeah.
BB ate them.
It's kind of funny. I mean, it's like...
It's a dad joke. It's clean.
I get them.
You get a chuckle.
Like, I understand them.
Ha ha ha. So we'll try to do a new one.
To get me to actually laugh at one of them.
So if anyone has an idea for another dad joke, you can email us a dad joke and we'll give you credit for it. We'll say this dad joke came from
this person.
Bob from Wisconsin or whoever, right?
Yeah.
And we'll go from there. But all right. I guess
that's it.
Yeah. I guess that'll do.
Yeah.
See you real soon.